Okay, so this is going to be a not normal intro to my video because I finished the normal video, got it all together, edited, whatever, and it was well over an hour, and that's just way too long. The first 20 or 30 minutes was just me rambling about the paint. Basically, very, very long story short, I just wet sanded and polished. I tried wax. The wax didn't work out very well, so I stripped the wax off, re-wet sanded and polished, and it looks okay. And so I just saved you like well over 20 minutes of just me rambling about issues I was having with the paint. So let's continue on where I ended up, where I cut off the part that made it way too long. So the next step, what I need to do, I want to start putting these metal pieces on. And of course, these pieces here, they'll go on after the spare tires go on. The license plate holder piece, right now that's just unpainted plastic. That goes onto the back with these metal pieces and the clear tail light pieces. And I'm assuming that gets painted. Let me get a better view of that here. So that goes in like that. The larger half is outboard. I'm assuming that gets painted like a clear red, and that gets painted like a clear yellow. I wouldn't think that the two lights would be clear on the real car. And of course that goes in here and then locks that onto the back of the car. So I'm going to find some clear red and yellow and paint those. I think I have some. I got to look around before those go in. And also I believe this gets this should be like a silver color. Every picture I've seen, those were painted silver. So I still have to paint those, so I'll put those on later. So what I want to focus on now is these pieces here. This one goes back here, and then these go one on each side here. But before we put those on, we have to fold those tabs over. I'm going to do the little one first. So these tabs get folded over, and they go in little slots. And then once it goes in, they get folded all the way around from the inside to lock them in. So just using some little jeweler's pliers. Trying to make sure that the bend stays on the edge here. Trying. I think you're going to end up seeing where those tabs are, regardless of how careful you are bending them, just given the nature of how it is. But just go ahead and bend those over. Yeah, I think you're gonna see like a little bump from when they fold it over. I don't think you're going to be able to get rid of that. And this is slightly curved here. So that already looks like it's got a curve in it. So the next step is to, hopefully without scratching this, install that in there. Alright, so I found just a scrap piece of aluminum that just happened to be the exact same thickness that I had to have. So I basically, well, it was almost, I put that on, I put that over there, then I used my pliers to just squeeze it down to get that thickness. And it only needed just a tiny bit of a squeeze like that to get them where they needed to be. And what that did, that actually got rid of the little humps on the sides there, so it made it a much nicer bend. And now it'll fit into those slots here. So I got too much stuff in the way. So now I should be able to press that in find those slots. And at the same time, get the forward one to go in. And that one, I might need to bend that in just a little bit more here. Like that. And then hopefully it'll go in. I don't know why I expected this to be easier. So I'm not going to be able to keep this in camera and see what I'm doing at the same time, so let me just show you what it looks like once it gets in. What I ultimately did, I had to clean out the slots, had to open up the holes a little bit. All I had to do was take one of these and take one of those tabs that wasn't bent down yet and just shove it into the hole, and that cleaned out the slot. It was easier to do it with this than with this little thing here, you know, to have something bigger hang on to, just shove it into the hole. And then press that in. Now, the first trial fit, the curve back here wasn't quite right, so I had to pop it out and kind of rebend it a little bit. Then I shoved the back in, pushed that down all the way, and then as you can see here, pushed the tabs over, and then pushed that bottom end in as tight as it would go, and then bent that front tab down. And that is now locked in place. These others should be a little bit easier because I don't have any that are like across from each other. So these others should be a little bit easier. So I'm just going to take those and bending them down about 90 degrees. Again, I want the bend to be as close to the main part, the main shape as possible. Oh, and I should probably open those holes up a little bit. So I'm going to take this one. Let's see, this one is right side. I want to take this one and go through those holes just to make sure they'll go in there. There's one, and third one right there. And again, if I actually put a scratch in this thing, I would have to repaint it. And of course, it's a straight part going on a curved surface. So it would be nice. Maybe I should kind of bend that a little bit. If I pull that out and kind of pre-bend it, maybe? I don't know if I'm going to mess stuff up more if I try that. So I want that to kind of bend in. Let's see if that's enough. Yeah, that's better. Sorry, that wasn't even in camera. That sets down there a lot better now. Yeah, so give that a pre-bend, pre-twist in before you put it in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bend those tabs down before I push that one in, because if I push that one in, it might pull those others up. And it's hard to keep this big thing in camera and still see what I'm doing. I'm just going to push that in tight. And let's see, it probably doesn't matter which way I bend it, but I'll bend it in that way. And this one, just bend over like so. Yeah, for a second I thought I chipped the paint, but that's just a little smudge of something. And then we'll work this one in. I need to build smaller cars. Would be easier for the camera. Push that in. Of course, they're not as fun. Oops. Try that again. Hold that in. And I'm just using a plastic pin here to bend the tabs over. Alright. There's that one. There's that. So, one more. I'll do that off camera. Okay, I believe it is time to put the top on. Now, I did look for some scrap material. Now, I had what I think is a good thought. If I can find, it's starting to come unglued from that. It's a good thing there's a piece that goes on there to hold it on. Anyways, if I can find a piece of material that matches this, I think what I'm going to do is I will attach that to here. I will start right back here and run it all the way up and just tuck it under that lip here. Because again, by doubling up the fabric, it makes it a little bit stiffer. And so if this part is as stiff as this part, then hopefully when we unfold it to where it's opened like that, it'll hold its shape a little bit better, maybe? I don't know. Now I went to this place where I thought I would have the best luck finding a match, and they had the correct type of fabric, it was just the wrong color. So I've got a few ideas, a few other places I could check. I looked on eBay because sometimes this whole thing comes up on eBay. If I can get a whole new piece on eBay for not too much money, then I might do that. So I'm still looking. I'm thinking even once this is installed on the car, like when it's installed here, I think I can still fold that back and attach it. I don't think that'll be too difficult. I hope not. Maybe. I mean, they actually have you, if you follow the instructions, glue this side in when it's all attached to the car, which I don't know how they expect you to do that. Now, one thing I do want to do first before I attach this, I need to fold these up. I made a mark here on this one where it needs to fold up. So I need to fold that back this way. So that'll get that spray glue and then folded back. And I need to do that on the other side as well. So I wish I would have marked that last time I had this on. So I'm going to have to temporarily install that and then mark that side like I did here so I can fold that back in the right spot. Also, what I will go ahead and do is, see here, that's starting to come unglued a little bit there. I will go ahead and put this piece on. I just gave it a spray of silver and that gets screwed on right here. It's not terrible, I guess. I'll put it on, and if I end up not liking it, then I'll replace it with something else. And that just goes on with a handful of screws. So let me get this screwed on and this fitted back on here, and I'll get back with you then. I'm going to try my best to hold the camera steady and show you what I did. Where that gets folded needs to be, as best as I can tell, right where that seam is here. So again, I just temporarily installed it, and yeah, sorry. That folded edge needs to be right at the base of that vertical part, right before it hits the curve. So I pulled that down tight-ish, put a tiny mark there. Again, you got to be careful where you put the mark. I'm hoping, plan is that mark will be on the bottom or the inside of the fold so that it won't be visible when it's done. And so then if we, and I also had to cut right here because this part will get tucked under that one piece. So where this gets folded, so I can fold that again, that folded edge, I didn't fold that too smoothly. Try that again. So that'll get folded here, and then that folded edge will sit right down in there like that. But again, I didn't get it perfectly straight that time either. So, and again, as you can see, that pencil mark is going to be on the inside of that fold. So again, just be careful of that. So I'm going to take this back off, and I just put the screw in there temporarily with all the pieces right there. So I'll take that back off, I'll spray the back side of that, I'll mask it off so I don't get glue everywhere. Then I'll fold that back, and then I'll put it back on. And then hopefully that'll be the final time putting it back on. Alright, so I just started putting this thing back on, and just to kind of show you, can I show you? Like right there, there's that side that got folded up. And I gotta tell you, I'm a little bit nervous because this is where it's going to like turn out really nice or look like crap. Because again, I'm working on putting this thing on for good now. Now these pieces here, I don't know if you remember before, but last time I had this all test fitted together when I was cutting the arches here, these pieces that go here were sprung out. So what I did was I put a heat gun on it right here and sprung them in. And it looks like a lot, but I think it's going to be fine. Here's the one over here. Should be fine. I'd rather them be a little bit too far in than too far out, because if they're too far out, they push the fabric out and it just looks silly. If they're too far in, well, you wouldn't even see it. So I think those are fine. And I'm not even positive how the fabric, if it even gets glued to this. I don't know. I think I'll tack it on. I think I'll tack the fabric just to that edge a little bit if I think it needs it. Otherwise, I may not even mess with it. I mean, it's going to get screwed through here. I don't know if you can see that very well. There's a screw hole here, so there's a metal piece that comes up, the fabric gets pinched between there and it gets screwed through there, so it'll be attached here at least. But I might put a little dot of glue right on the point here, maybe. Like I said, I don't know about that yet. All right, so putting this in, following the order here, the most outboard piece is the most back one. Then you got that little curvy piece that I bent, and then you got the most front rail, and then finally the middle rail. Now they are not really specifying how the fabric should lay in there, like if it got glued in there or anything. They're not really showing that clearly except for right here. But again, they're not showing how the fabric goes on. But again, if you go back and look at the cover photo, where did it go? The cover photo, well, that fabric's being pulled back a little bit and you can see that screw. So I'm kind of thinking it does not get glued to there. What I might do is go ahead and not glue or screw that in here. I'll go and screw it in normal for good. I'll just leave that fabric loose on it and I'll tuck everything under and I'll see how it sits. And if I need to, then I might glue it in. But that might pull tight when you go to fold it back. I don't know. We'll see as we go. But definitely with stuff like this, you want to look at it a couple of times before you make anything permanent, like gluing. So what I'm going to do now then is I guess I'll put that screw in the right way around. So I'll go ahead and just do this one over here first. So again, the most inboard one is going to be the middle one. So from this way, from this side, it's going to go through the back one first. It's going to go through the back one first. And of course now it's not wanting to cooperate. And then this piece goes in. And let me me see if I can even zoom that in with what I'm doing. It's kind of hard when all the parts are black. But, so right now I've got that screw going through the most outer one, and then it's got to go through this one. And come on, it's got to be so difficult. All right, so it's through that piece. Then we go through the middle one. No. Man, why am I getting so mixed up with this? Then it goes through the forward one, and then lastly, the middle one. So we'll bring that forward one up, and then we'll get the middle one up into place. And we just got to get it into this one. There we go. Now it's through. Man, what a pain in the butt. Okay, so just making sure I got the order right. It's, and again, just going from what I'm doing here. Just going from the outside to inside. It goes through the aft rail, then that weird piece, then the front rail, and then the center rail. And so it's going through the aft one, the weird piece, the front, then the center, then it's coming out the back side there, so I need to put a nut right there. So, let me do the same thing to the other side, and do the same thing to the other side. I'll get back with you. I just have this paper towel over here to protect the paint there. Yeah, I'm already tired of this, and you guys are probably already tired of watching. So let me get this set up and ready to tuck the back piece under this, and I'll get back with you when we're ready for that. Okay, now that's in. Screws and nuts are in. What I'll probably do later is just put a little dot of Loctite right on the back side of that screw. There is, I forget what it's called. I have a type of Loctite that's meant to go on after the nut's on. It actually, like capillary action, pulls it into the threads. So I'll use that for those, and that'll just keep those from falling out at some point. And the next step is we need to put this in here with the fabric tucked around the back side of that, which I have a feeling is going to be much more easier said than done. And we're using these screws here, these screws here, and that's from pack 415. And just seeing if it matters, because one side of the hole looks a little bit bigger than the other. I think the screw will grab either way. I think I'll put the big hole down just to help get the screw into position better. So this goes on here, and the fabric gets clamped over top, and trying to figure out the best way to manipulate this. I think I remember what I did last time was I did this part first, and then I put the screws on the rails, I think. But man, I don't remember. But if I can just get that back there like that, get that piece in position, and clamp it. Hold that while I get the clamp on. Get the clamp in the middle, and then pull that up, and yeah, pull that clamp back just a little bit. I think we got just a little bit too much fabric. I didn't have that much going through. On mine, right in the middle of this piece, right in the middle, like that piece I just clamped in, say it's like that wide, that's exactly how much fabric goes right in the middle. As it wraps around, more fabric gets pulled through. So something like that. and get that piece flipped down, get those pieces flipped down. So something like that. And yeah, that's those pieces I bent. Those pieces I bent, I can already tell they're a little bit in better shape. Before I go any further, I think I need to fit the windshield panel back in place just to make sure that that's resting on top of the windshield frame. If not, I have to pull more fabric in. I have to pull more fabric out if it's not right. So I've got more fabric in there than I did the first time, so I need to just loosen this, pull a little bit more fabric out. Let me see what that looks like. I believe that's what I had. So, assuming everything was fitted properly the first time, that should be perfect right on top of that windshield frame, because I can't pull it any further forward. And the clamp is pushing out a little bit here, which I don't like, but I don't think I can pull that clamp anymore out of the way. A little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit better. That's looking better. Let me put the windshield frame on here. And I don't want to scratch the paint. Remember, that windshield frame is metal. I don't want to scratch that paint, so I'm going to tape this first. And I think I'm actually out. I've got just a little bit left. Hopefully it's enough. And get the windshield. Where's my windshield? Here it is. I'm still going to try to be careful and put that on. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. This has to be curved, so the windshield panel, not the windshield panel, this piece, I've got to put this piece on so that it's curved the right way. Come on. There we go. So that sets the curve this way. Now, I can put this gently here, and I'm just going to clamp that on, maybe just like that, and that fits perfect. Perfect enough. Now I can already see right here there's going to be an issue. So when we close the roof up, it doesn't just sit there nicely. It wants to fall down because, again, there's no support in here. So it'll sit like that, but it doesn't look good. Yeah. Now, one thing I did notice, there is a hole here, there's a hole here, and there's a hole here. On the windshield frame, there's a piece of metal here, and here, and here that line up with those holes, but the instructions say to bend them over to hold the glass in, which I just realized my glass here has fallen out. And I can show you those little tabs. So right here, there's a metal tab that folds over this way and one that goes this way. So what I have seen other people do, they'll take that tab and they'll leave that tab straight up and down to go into the hole here, and then kind of push it over a little bit to kind of hold that in place. If you do that, you're going to have little pieces of metal sticking up right there when you fold the roof back. Of course, that is an option if you want to do that. But that would hold that piece in place nicely, much nicer than what I'm finding here. It would hold that piece in place properly, because right now, the way I'm doing it, it doesn't want to do that. So I get more fabric out of there. There, it's fallen off. Now, obviously there's an issue. I already may have said in an earlier video that what I might do is get some of that thin crafting foam. It's like, you know, about a 1/16 or an 1/8, and cut it this shape right here to where it'll fold down on the sides, and stick that on the inside and tuck it up underneath here. So that way that foam will hold that in place and make a nice shape for that. I think that's about the only way to get this to set there nicely and look good, because it's not just going to sit on top of that windshield frame unless I bend those metal pieces up and push them into the holes here, which is still an option. That could still be done. So I'm not too concerned about that just yet. I'll check with the guy that I'm building this for, find out how he plans on having it displayed mostly. If he plans on having it displayed with this closed, then I'll just put the metal tabs in and lock it in, or I'll put the foam piece in. I don't know. I'm not that concerned about it just yet. What I am concerned about is the length of this video. It's getting to be way too long. I might have to just break it up into a couple of parts, but I'm just going to keep going with it for now, and I'll worry about how I'm going to edit it later. So what I need to do then is I need to get some screws up from the bottom. Now, before I can do that, these pieces right here, this piece here, and there's another one here that holds the leather strap that ties the roof back when you fold it back. That gets tucked under everything, and a screw goes through that. I think I'll have better luck if I put that in last. Like, go ahead and pull the fabric through and get all the screws in. Once I get the screws in, then I'll put that in. I'll take that screw back out, slide that in, put the screw back in. I think I'll have better luck if I do that. At least that's the plan. Because if I try to keep that in place while pulling the fabric through and then fishing the screw through everything, I think that'll just be a nightmare. So I'm going to put those in later. And whether that's a mistake, I'll find out soon enough. So first step now is to get a screw in. So I'm just going to flip this over and see if I can get one of these screws installed. And I was really wanting to do the middle screw first, but obviously the clamp is in the way. So I may try to get one off to the side. So I'm just using a little needle here to see if I can get one started through the hole and see if I can pick up the hole on that little plastic piece. And not finding one there. Not finding one there, which means that little plastic piece is not positioned perfectly, which means I'm going to have to slide things around, which is going to be a pain in the butt. What I'll do here, I'm going to go and just pause the camera here, because it's going to be really tedious to get that thing shifted around and keep the fabric in place until I can get a screw installed. So let me get back to you once I have a couple of screws back here installed. Then we'll start feeding the fabric under and pulling things tight. All right, let me just show you what I'm dealing with here. I may just end the video here, because what I'm trying to do here I've found is being very, very uncooperative. And to try to keep this video from being an hour long, what I might do is just end it here, show you what I've done and where I'm ending, and then once I figure some more stuff out, start another video to then wrap this up and get this part done. So this will be like part one of putting the top on. So this is where I'm at. First off, these screws that they call for are not long enough. And I got one in. Let me flip this over so you can see what's going on here. I've got this one in here, and it is bottomed down all the way in. It can't go in anymore. And it did not go into that plastic piece that's trying to trap the fabric between it. I don't know if we'll be able to see that view this way or not. Probably not. But if we look down in this way, you can see I started pulling the fabric through here, but that screw is supposed to go into this plastic piece right here, and that traps the fabric in. Let me see if I can get a light on that. I don't know if that helps or makes it worse. But that screw did not go into that plastic piece. To go through the car body and the fabric and into that plastic piece, it just didn't make it. So I got to find some longer screws. And just to go over, in fact, let me move these screws out of the way so I don't scratch the paint when I set it down here. I started pulling it through on this side, so if I just squeeze those plastic frames down, as you can see, when we pull that fabric in, it starts pulling that fabric nice and tight around that frame. And then this piece will go in. Let me hold it this side. Come on. Hold that down this way. So I'm trying to hold that plastic frame piece down. And this piece, that folded edge, lines right up there over that screw, and it lines up with that plastic piece here, this plastic piece here. And it will eventually get screwed into that plastic piece. And I'm thinking, maybe, that I'm going to need to glue the edge of that fabric onto the edge of that plastic piece right here, and not have it glued here. That way, when that's on that plastic piece here, because when it folds back, it needs to be able to pull away from that as it folds back. But the first step is to find some screws that fit and get this clamped down. If I just pull that back a bit, you can see here where that fabric goes between the body and this piece right here. So the screws have to go up under the body, through the fabric, and through this piece here. All in the meantime, pulling the fabric tight. Pulling that fabric tight around. But again, I can't really do anything until I find some screws that fit, which I don't think I have. So, I mean, it's going to look nice when it's done. Pull that a little bit tighter here. It's still a little bit wrinkly now. But, you know, like I said, it's going to look nice when it's done. It's just a matter of dunning it. So, anyways, I'm kind of frustrated with this now. I don't know why it surprises me that the screws are too short. I mean, it is a Pocher model. So that should be the norm, parts that don't fit. So I just got to track down some longer screws, see what length I need, and see if I can find some longer screws, and then get back to that. So I'll go ahead and end this one here. I'm going to stop talking. I'm tired. This video is way too long. I definitely appreciate you hanging in if you've been watching this far. My plan was to have this part done at the end of this video, but yeah, it's fighting me. So hopefully next video we'll be able to figure it out. So I'm done. And as always, thanks for watching.